Game of Thrones. You son of a bitch. About 29 minutes into episode 4 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, my new favorite big ol' boy gives a speech to the crowd. It's one of honor and desperation in equal parts, and its climax, I'm gonna call it the climax, we'll get to it, contains every element that I think makes this show great and possibly the actual return to Game of Thrones' former glory. Let me explain. But first,
here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling, cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter. Ching, ching, bling, bling, patent pockets. We take the dollar, dollar, can a damn soul stop it. Here comes the new kid on the block. Hold all your bets, here's where the buck stops. See, first of all, I'm stepping out on my own.
That's right, YouTube's officially paying me AdSense. As of time of recording, I've made $12.38. That's freaking dope, y'all. Of course, I probably won't make any off of this video because of the music I'm using for this bit, but that's not what matters. I never thought I'd be in a position where I'd have to provide YouTube with my banking information, and even if this video tanks and it was all just me riding the wave of heated rivalry, I'm having a lot of fun here. Thanks to anyone who's reinforced a reason to keep me at it. But now back to the task at hand. Safe to say I'm gonna spoil some stuff, so if you haven't, please watch the show. The whole season's only 6 half-hour episodes, you can knock it out in a week. So, we got our boy Sir Duncan the Tall. He's a big old boy, as mentioned earlier. Kinda dumb, I mean it is what it is, but he's also incredibly kind and above all, honorable. We love Dunk, hell of a guy. Unfortunately, being big, dumb, and honorable is a dangerous combination of things to be in Game of Thrones world, and he saves a local puppeteer from attack by beating the shit out of a slimy little prince. When he's brought in front of the royal fam, he demands trial by combat and a bit of a Hail Mary. In response,
I refuse. You cannot refuse. A trial of 7.
Everybody hates this because it's very clearly an act of cowardice invoking this ancient thing and making a whole big deal of it just to avoid going 1v1 with the Dunk Man. Ratfuck move from a ratfuck prince. Prince Arion. As it happens though, when he shows up to the trial, he's got enough guys, which was a concern there for a bit. Shout out Egg. Except, oop, this schmuck tricked everybody and is choosing to fight for the accuser, stabbing Dunk in the back in exchange for a lordship. Not very honorable of him. Speaking of which, I've got 2 quick tangents here. First one, this shot of Duncan entering the trial grounds is fucking great in a quintessentially Game of Thrones way. I don't know if I'll be able to find a clip, but it reminds me a lot of a shot they did when Jaime Lannister marches into that old lady's castle. Tyrell, is that her name? I'm bad enough with names as it is. There's no way I still fully remember who's who in that show. The difference is, in this shot of Jaime, one of my favorites and a type of shot they use a few times, he's marching so upright and deliberate. He's clearly in control here. His dominance of the space is just oozing out of his posture. On the other hand, look how it's used with our boy Dunk. His massive frame still makes him this hulking presence in the shot, maybe even more so than Jaime was, but look at how his head is tilted downward. This is not the march of a confident man, it's the walk of a guy trying his best to maintain a brave face as he enters a large and cruel world. And the fog around him creates such a wonderfully claustrophobic atmosphere, especially when the bad guys come riding in, because you can barely make out their silhouettes. He doesn't even know how much danger he's in yet. Second, and then I promise I'll get to the speech, the knighting of whatever this kid's name is. I told you I'm hopeless with this stuff. That's such a cool sequence. It's pretty simple, but something about that sharp angle, slow-mo with the sword. This guy's mouth's not moving, but his words are sitting in the voiceover just over these eerie strings in the score. It really gives this whole thing this otherworldly weight, and reminds us of the oath that these knights are honor-bound to uphold. We'll come back to that too. Shout out to this shot. So anyway, in medical terms, Sir Duncan the Tall has found himself pretty well fucked. In a final effort, he turns to address the crowd. This shit is great. I love a good speech. Sue me. The way the music ebbs in and out beneath him as he builds his case in this trial before the trial. He speaks honestly. It's the only way he knows how, and maintains a conviction in his beliefs, even to the point of exasperation, because what's right is so obvious to him. How could these people not see it?
A knight defends the innocent. That's all I did.
Then the music drops out as he makes his final plea.
Who will stand and fight with me?
The grounds fall quiet for a moment until... Dude, I watched this episode at night alone, and when this happened, I audibly went, "Oh, this is dope." The out of focus look to the kid beside him, the heavy creak of the bench, that sick ass music drop, this shot of this dude just looking like a badass, this is all so up my alley, it's stupid. And then... So why do I think this perfectly encapsulates my hope for this show succeeding where House of the Dragon has not? I've got two reasons. Number one, it's kind of funny, but specifically in like a childish sort of way, it's a fart joke, which I find refreshing. That's not to say that the original Game of Thrones wasn't funny. There's plenty of moments in there. But a lot of the time, that show was also very buttoned up, you know? These are knights and lords doing important shit and speaking incorrect English, and you better not fuck with them because they'll cut your head off. And I think House of Dragon really doubled down on that pervasive sense of royalty, you know? Everybody's all serious all the time. But with this, we're taking it to ground level. And at ground level, this world's still cruel, but it's also sometimes kind of silly. I remember there being a lot of talk about all the pooping in episode 1, but I kind of like it because from the jump it established that this isn't going to be a story of uptight noblemen. We're here with the schlubs. Secondly, I freaking love Dunk. And Egg for that matter. I know he hasn't come up much, but that kid's dope too. And this show does such an excellent job of showcasing all the reasons that he deserves our admiration that even if you didn't watch the first 3 episodes for some weird reason, you'd still get everything you need to know from this episode alone. He's kind. You see him in the opening scene locked in some nasty looking cell, but then he takes the time to pet that little rat and welcome it in from the rain. Hell, right out of the gate, after illustrating the respect he has for the royals' time, he immediately disagrees with Prince whatever his name is, the good one of the bad guys, to vouch for Egg. He's honest, which not only you see in the speech, but also in the quickness with which he'll own up to the charges he did commit.
And you kicked him too, did you not?
I did.
And he's honorable. Throughout the episode, you see him accepting that yes, he did beat the shit out of the prince, but he did it because that's what a knight does. He saw a powerful man hurting the innocent and he stood up for them. It being a prince makes no difference. Which in the end is what saves him because he's not the only honorable knight in the building. I think this all hits particularly well because sure, there's some good folks in the OG series, but we've been conditioned to remain distant from them like a goldfish you warn your kid not to name because you know you're 2 seasons max from seeing them die in a horrific way. But here, I mean, Sir Duncan is the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I think it's safe to assume he'll be around for a while. Cheers. Or who knows, maybe they might just kill him off halfway through the next season, but I think that'd be dumb. I think that's a bad idea. Because I'm excited for this new perspective of the world. Because yeah, his speech ultimately ends up with Prince better than the rest of his family joining his cause. Classic Game of Thrones story beat. And yeah, fast forwarding to the end of season 5, pausing now to give you time to turn this off if you haven't made it that far. Prince, best of his family, gets conked in the head and dies. Even more classic. And yeah, this sets in motion a very Game of Thrones story in the level of highborn significance Dunk's journey is now in the center of. But unlike the original series and subsequent House of the Dragon, the story isn't that the heir is dead. It's instead how this death will affect this random hedge knight. The Game of Thrones here is a circumstance of the story's setting, not the story itself. And I think if the showrunners play their cards right, that distinction has the possibility of making the show the revered return to Westeros that HBO's desperately been searching for. Because I'll be the first to admit, I got really excited with the first season of House of Dragon. It was nice to get back to some quality Game of Thrones in. But as the show's gone on, it's become increasingly embroiled in a bunch of shitty people doing shitty things with very little relief, as the writers desperately try to find reasons for us to care about them, creating this trail of kinda sympathetic characters letting us down by doing the shitty things that they were born to do. And honestly, I'm disappointed enough with real life. I can't say I'm excited to see more of it. But a story about a truly honorable man making the best of this terrible reality while trying to impart what little wisdom he may have on a young and therefore redeemable prince, that I can get behind. And I think that's basically that. This is a good show, and I recommend it to anybody out there that likes Game of Thrones. Hey, you watching this. Thanks, dog. I really appreciate it. I asked for recommendations for stuff to talk about at the end of the last one, and boy did I get a bunch of them. It's like I've got a team of strangers putting together a watch list for me, and it's flippin' sick. This was one of them, as you may have figured, but I've got a whole list going now. A lot of you recommended Interview with a Vampire, which I knew was a show, but I didn't know it was any good. I won't make any promises that I'll make a video on it, but I read the new season's coming out in the summer, so I'll definitely be catching up on it before then. Just need to get an AMC Plus account, I guess. In the meantime, there will definitely be something on here before too long. Don't know what about, but I've got a list to pull from, and feel free to hit me up with more recommendations in the comments. Until then, I hope you're well and you're enduring the end of winter well enough. Spring will be here soon. Stop shopping on Amazon. Trust me, by now there's plenty of other more respectable places to shop, and at most it'll take maybe an extra day to get to you. And of course, above all else, fuck ice.
Do the thing where your hands are crossed in front of you. Yeah, and like you just lean, like kick your legs out pretty far and lean back on it. And then as I get around to your other side, look the other way. And then give me a finger guns. Yeah, dude. This is the best one so far.